Good morning children. I welcome you all to the next video of class 11th business studies. We are going to start the second chapter and the name of the chapter is Form of Business Organizations. Forms of business organizations. So first of all, a business enterprise is an organization which is engaged in some business or commercial activity. Every business enterprise is a separate and distinct unit of business. Every business entity adopts some form of business organization to carry out business activities. So, business enterprises may be classified into three broad categories. They are private sector, public sector and joint sector enterprises. So, first let me explain you private sector. What are private sector enterprises? The business enterprises which are owned, controlled and managed by private individuals are known as private sector enterprises. These companies work with the main motive of earning profit. Example, Reliance India Limited, Tata Company. Then second is public sector enterprises. In public sector enterprises, business enterprises which are owned, controlled and managed by the central and state government are known as public sector enterprises. Example is Steel Authority of India or Gas Authority of India. These enterprises work with the main motive of service. Then joint sector enterprises. What are they? These enterprises owned, controlled and managed jointly by private entrepreneurs and government. In these enterprises, the day-to-day management lies in the hands of private entrepreneurs, whereas government control and supervision by its members and board of directors. Example is Maruti Udyog Limited. Then we move ahead to forms of private sector enterprises. In forms, there are many forms of private sector enterprises. First is sole proprietorship. So, what is sole proprietorship? Sole means the individual. So, when we are going to talk about sole proprietorship, it is the single owner. A business owned, managed and controlled by a single individual is known as sole proprietorship organization. Now we are going to talk about the features of sole proprietorship. What are the main features of sole proprietorship? The main feature is single ownership. What is single ownership? The sole proprietorship firm is owned by a single individual only. All the capital is supplied by the single individual from his own wealth. Then second is formation and closure. There is no legal formalities required to start and close sole proprietorship firm. There is no separate law governing this form of business. Then third is unlimited liability. In sole proprietorship firm, the proprietor is personally liable for all the debts of the business. In case of business losses, business assets are not sufficient to meet all the business liability, the proprietor may have to sell his personal property also. Then fourth, individual risk bearing and profit recipient. In sole proprietorship firm, whole risk is borne by the single individual, and if there is any profit, then he is the individual who is receiving all the profit also. Then one man control. The proprietor is the sole owner of the firm, so he has full control over everything, over the ownership, over the management. No separate legal entity. A sole proprietorship has no legal identity separate from that of its owner. Law makes no difference between the owner and the enterprise. Next, lack of business continuity. Since business and owners are one, so death, insolvency and incapacity, ailment, etc. will have direct effect on the business. Then small size. The sole proprietor firm operate on a very small scale as all the funds are arranged by one person. Total management and control lies with one person only. A sole trader can arrange limited funds and has limited managerial ability also. Now move on to the merits or advantages of sole proprietorship. First of all, quick decision. In sole proprietorship firm, all the decisions are taken by the proprietor himself, so he is not supposed to consult anyone and waste time. Second, confidentiality. The sole proprietor is not expected to share his secrets with other. There is no legal compulsion for sole proprietor to publish his accounts. All the decisions are taken by him only. Then third is direct incentive. In sole proprietorship firm, there is direct relation between the efforts and reward, which means if proprietor puts extra efforts, then profit increase and proprietor get extra income also. Then sense of accomplishment. There is a personal satisfaction involved in working for oneself. The success in business not only contributes to self-satisfaction but also instills in the individual a sense of accomplishment and confidence. Then easy to form and dissolve. A sole proprietorship firm is easy to form. No legal formalities are required in setting up. It is not governed by any specific law. The sole proprietor can close the business whenever he desires. Now there are some disadvantages too. So what are the disadvantages? First is it has limited resources because he is the individual who has to manage all the wealth. So he has limited resources on raising the funds. Then next is limited life of the business. That is, the survival and continuity of the sole proprietor firm depends upon one person only. If the proprietor fall ill or become insolvent, then the business may come to the end. Then third, unlimited liability. The sole proprietor is personally liable for all the debts. In case of heavy losses, he himself has to bear all the things, and sometimes his personal property is also at stake. Then last is limited managerial skills, because he is the only individual who is looking after all the business. So a single individual cannot be expert in all the fields. He may be good in salesperson but not good as manager. So it is difficult to find all skills and expertise in one person. Next, after sole proprietorship, we are going to talk about joint Hindu family business. What is that? The business carried out by the member of Hindu undivided family is known as joint Hindu family business. The kind of business is not governed by Industrial or Company Act, but it is governed by the Hindu Succession Act, which exists under Hindu law. There are two conditions for existence of joint Hindu family business. First, minimum of 2 male members must be there in the family, and existence of some ancestral property should also be there. The ancestral property is inherited by the male member of the family, Hindu undivided family. The member who shares the ancestral property and who are entitled to get a share in the profit of joint Hindu family business are known as co-parcels. Now there are some features of joint Hindu family business. First is formation. For the formation of joint Hindu family business, there should be at least 2 members in the family and ancestral property to be inherent by them. Business does not require any agreement as membership is by birth. It is governed by Hindu Succession Act 1956. Then the liability. The liability of Karta is unlimited, whereas liability of other members of joint Hindu family business is limited up to the share of the business. The Karta's liability is unlimited, so his personal assets can also be used for paying back the debts of the business. Then next is control. What is control? The joint Hindu family business is managed and controlled by the senior most member of the family, who is also known as Karta. Only the Karta has the legal rights to enter into the contracts with outsiders. He only takes all the decisions of the business. Other members have no right to take decisions in the management of joint Hindu family business. Then we are going to talk about the minor member. Who is the minor member? The minor member in the joint Hindu family business is the child. He will become a member by birth only. So there is no restriction for a minor member to become the member of the business. So these are the features that we have talked about in joint Hindu family business. Right now we have discussed about basically 2 topics, that is, one is sole proprietorship. In that we have talked about features, merits and demerits. And then we have talked about joint Hindu family business. In that also we have discussed about its features. You are going to prepare the notes what I have taught you today, and in the next video we are going to continue with the chapter. Up till then, goodbye children.